Hello and welcome to Master Job Skills, where we provide essential skills training, also known as soft skills, that employers value most in employees. Nancy here. Yes, I'm a real person. I'm not an AI creation. I will be popping in on video from time to time during my training sessions. So perhaps you've graduated or you're looking to change your career. You've got a great resume and cover letter. You've done a lot of work on it, and you just don't seem to get hired. You might not even get called for an interview, and if you do, you wonder why you don't get called back. I'm qualified. Well, it's not what you think, and we're here to help you with that. So let's dive into that right now. So today, we are going to break down the 6 essential skills that will get you hired. Some of these may surprise you, and stick around to the end of the video because I have a bonus one, which is the 7th, which will separate candidates who get callbacks from the ones who didn't. So what if I told you that people applying for the same job as you are getting rejected, not because they lack experience or qualifications, but because they're missing some skills that hiring managers are actually caring about? And here's the problem. Not very many people teach you that in school. Most employers do not include them in the job description, but every single recruiter is quietly scanning for them the moment you walk through the door of a job interview. First things first, however, my name is Nancy Attrill. There's a picture of me right there. I have owned and operated small businesses. I've had many years in leadership and management roles in the financial services sector, and I have hired and recruited and interviewed, obviously, many candidates and employees. I also teach post-secondary college business courses at a local business college. I graduated from Natural Health College, and I have an advanced certification as a brainwave/neurofeedback technologist, offering natural wellness services to clients. Okay, so let's just dive into the first one, which is communication. Now, this is probably an obvious one. And before you say, yes, I've already heard that, please hear me out, because most people think communication just means speaking well, and it does, but it's so much more than that. It means knowing when to talk and when to not talk and when to listen actively. It means being able to explain a complicated idea in 30 seconds or less. Hiring managers are not evaluating your vocabulary. They are evaluating whether you can make them feel understood. Can you listen actively, summarize clearly, respond without rambling? And that's what communication actually means in a professional setting. And it's one of the fastest ways to stand out. So let's just go through some of the points here. Okay, so summarize clearly. You know, you need to rehearse this before you go into an interview. In fact, you need to rehearse a lot of things before you step into an interview. And one of them is to summarize what you're all about clearly. One of the mistakes, one of the pitfalls that a lot of people make when they're being interviewed, and I know it comes from a place of being possibly nervous, is that they seem to ramble on and they believe that they have to tell the interviewer every single skill that you have, every experience you have, and all your education, and they keep going, they kind of go on and on and on. And that's not really what the interview is for. If you've presented your resume and cover letter, they have actually read that, and the reason you're sitting there is because there's something in there that they are interested in and pursuing further with you. What the interview is actually all about is they want to know whether you fit in to their organization, and they're looking for those soft skills that really don't show up too much in a resume or cover letter. Okay, so that is very, very important. Make sure that you listen actively. Now, when I say listen actively, it does mean that it includes body language, okay? Just a sec here. Body language is very important, and we all know that, and I will be doing separate videos of each of these 6 essential skills, and I will dive a lot deeper into that in another video. But right now we're just highlighting some of the things, and you may already know what it's all about, and maybe you don't. But your body language speaks louder than your words, okay? Do you have direct eye contact with the interviewer, or are you looking down and away in kind of shyness or embarrassment, or, you know, lacking confidence? Another thing is to, you know, perceive that you're not nervous and be calm and cool and collected when you communicate, and really just think of it as you're just having a conversation, okay? It's a two-way street. And yes, it's intimidating when they're going to be giving you a list of probably some pretty tough questions to answer. What they're looking for is, are you honest? What is your work ethic? How do you work well with others? What's your customer service skill like? Do you play the blame game, or do you admit when you're wrong? And do you learn from your mistakes? It's all of those things, and we will be covering some of those in detail as we go through the 6 essentials. So show them you have some knowledge of the company, and that's very important. Do your homework on the company and the actual job. Go through that job description fully, and make sure that you are in alignment with what they're looking for. And the top 4 things that they're looking for, you know, they usually have a very long list of qualifications, but the top 4 that they list are really the most important. And so you are going to want to zero in and convince them while you're sitting there in front of them, or perhaps it's on an online video call, but you're going to look at them and you're going to be confident enough that you are able to communicate, that you are able to do those tasks that they're looking for. And having knowledge, prior knowledge of the company is also very important, because it shows them that you're genuinely interested in the position, and you're not just there, you know, oh, well, I might get the job, I might not, but if I don't, well, next kind of thing. And that's kind of an attitude they don't want to see. They want to see that you have done your research, you know about the company, maybe make, during the conversation, inject some sentences that shows them that you do know something about the company. And sometimes you should have a list of questions that you want to ask them about the job or about the company, okay? When I'm interviewing people, the worst thing that can happen in an interview, they may be qualified in every other way, but when I ask them, do you have any questions for me? And the candidate sits there and said, no, I don't think so. I think that's pretty much it. Well, I think their resume is probably going to end up in the trash bin, because you always should have a question or two about the job or about the company. So do your research, and also be prepared to answer those tough interview questions. Some of the questions that you're kind of wondering, why are they asking me this in an interview? Well, they want to know what you are all about. What's your personality? What's your work ethic? So they're going to be asking some difficult questions for you to answer that you might think, well, that doesn't have anything to do with my resume, but it has everything to do with working for the company. And so some of those questions might be, what's a mistake you made, and how did you handle it, and what did you learn from it? Another one might be, tell me about a time when you had a conflict with another employee, and how did that go, and what did you learn from that? So if some of you haven't really had a job before, you may think, well, I haven't really had work experience, but you can use these questions in your you can draw them from your personal life, which means that, you know, maybe from school, a group setting, a dispute with your teacher, maybe an issue at home that required good communication skills. And maybe you made a mistake, and how did you handle it? Did you deny it? Did you lie about it? Did you try to cover it up? Did you say, yeah, I did something wrong. However, I'm blaming somebody else for not doing what they did, and that's what made me do what I did. That's really not owning the problem. So you want to be able to say, yes, I did it, or I didn't do something I was supposed to do, and here's how I handled it, and this is what I learned from it, and I put some things in my mind and processes in place where I wouldn't repeat that mistake. Okay, and that's what they want to know. They want to know that you own up, that you're mature, that you recognize that there are some mistakes that are made. The interviewer has also made mistakes. Everybody in the world has made mistakes. It's what you do about it, how you handle it, which is the important key thing here. Okay. All right, so let's move on to adaptability. It may also be referred to as change management skills. And so the job market today moves faster than it has ever before. In fact, our lives in general are moving very fast. Companies are shifting strategies, tools are changing, entire roles are being restructured. The candidate who signals that they can pivot and they can change effectively without falling apart is worth more than someone with a decade of rigid experience in a single workflow who may not be wanting to change at all. So you need to demonstrate your adaptability in an interview. So tell stories, real stories about a time or a plan that fell apart, and what did you do about it? How did you handle it? How did you make it work? Not what went wrong, no, necessarily, but how you moved through it, how you navigated through it, and how did you embrace the change? Were you positively calling yourself someone who is easily adaptable to change? Even though you may not like it, you're going to move forward with it, and you're going to do it in a positive way. It's also called change management skills. Okay. So so talk about the unexpected changes and how you handled them. Okay. Talk about how you overcame resistance to change. We all have resistance to change in some areas of our lives and work. Maybe at a previous job, school, or personal life. But relay a success story. And we all have a success story. You have to really think about this ahead of going to the interview, and you might think, well, I don't know what they're going to ask me before I go there. But there are many, many places that you can find the top 10 questions that interviewers ask. And that is one of them for sure, about a time when you made a mistake, or a time that things were not going well, or a time when your idea was not accepted, or a time when you worked in a team and the team fell apart and everybody, nobody was stepped up, etc. What did you do about it? How did you handle it? So there's all kinds of things, and we will go through a few of those in a few minutes. Okay, so just so that you know that you have to portray yourself as somebody who's willing to change, who's willing to try new things. Okay, so be prepared. Okay, just a sec here. I'm going to just load up all of these because one of these came up too quickly. Okay, so being prepared really means being organized, and in your appearance during the interview, but also in your life. Being organized is so critically important, because if you are not organized and not prepared, what that says is that if there's chaos on the outside, there's chaos on the inside, and vice versa. So if you look at this picture in the top right corner, you see a very well organized workspace. And that's what your workspace should look like. And, you see some paper there, but let's face it, a lot of the things that you're responsible for are within that laptop or phone, and you have to be organized within that program as well. Let me just tell you a story about being organized and those who are not. If you were working alongside someone else who had the same job as you, and you both had similar experiences and skills, and the manager comes up to the person next to you and says, gee, I'm going into a meeting, I need this particular report right away. Can you get that for me? And the person is very well organized, and they either go and get the paper, or they go onto their laptop and say, yes, I just downloaded it to you. Or here's the report. And so it's there at the ready, because that person is well organized. They know where to find things easily. And then the manager comes to you and says, now I need this report also for the meeting. And maybe you're not well organized at all, and you are sitting there thinking, okay, and you'll just say, oh, you know what? Just give me a minute. I have to go and find it. Not sure where I put that, but it's here somewhere. And then you get all flustered because you can't produce that like your coworker did. And you know, when you get into that mindset, you can't find anything, right? It's a panic mode. And so you don't want to put yourself in that position. And that does not look good to your manager at all. So guess, you probably would eventually find it, but you're making your manager wait. And whereas the person next to you, that didn't happen. There's a big distinction between the two. And you might have the same level of intelligence. You might even be smarter, basically more intelligent than the person next to you. But the person who is well organized appears to be smarter. It's a perception, even if they're not. And guess what happens? When there's a promotion to come or a pay raise, who do you think is considered first? It's the well-organized person who can actually appear to work more efficiently, and they are more productive. Okay? Very, very important. Okay? So I mentioned before, come with a list of questions about the company. That's a preparation thing beforehand. We already talked about that. Rehearse those answers to the tough questions ahead of time. Okay? So that when they ask them, and they're going to ask them, they may not ask all of the ones that you've rehearsed, but they will ask some of them. And as soon as they do, if you can give an answer without hesitating and with confidence because you have rehearsed it, you are going to score big points with the interviewer. That tells them, yeah, this person is on the ball and has done the work before coming into the interview. Okay, and be prepared to give an example of how being organized helped in a work situation. Okay, so lots of work to do before you even enter the interview. So problem solving also is a huge, huge asset that every employer is looking for. And some people underestimate that. You might think that your manager is responsible for coming up with the solutions to your problem. Your job is to just tell them what the problem is, and then your manager has to come up with a solution. That is really not the truth. Your manager's job is not to come up with all the solutions. You're doing the work. If you see the problem, you probably already know what the solution could be. It may not be the end result, but it has to be. You have to probably know, or you and your coworkers together say, gee, if we could just do this, then that would solve the problem. Well, you will present that to your manager when you tell them about the problem. Here's the problem we're having. I've identified what it is, and we've gone through this, and this is a solution that I think we would solve that problem, or that we as a group have come up with. And maybe you need approval from the manager, but you're not sitting back letting the manager do all the work that really you should be doing with your critical thinking skills, right? So it shows your critical thinking skills. So offer a solution, be proactive, take initiative, okay? Your critical thinking skills is really what they want to look for. They want to know that you don't need to be babysat, okay? That they can leave you to come up with solutions and come up with great ideas in your workspace, okay? So the initiative is very important. Now, you're not going to overstep your authority, of course. Taking action without being asked. It seems so simple, but it's kind of rare sometimes. Most people do their job and stop there. The candidates who get hired And the employers who thrive at their job, the employees, sorry, who thrive at their job are the ones who see a gap and fill it without waiting for permission. Again, you need to work within the confines of your authority to do so. And it's not about overstepping. No manager wants you to overstep your authority. It's about taking ownership of your job. When you show a hiring manager evidence that you've done something proactive, created something, improved something, launched something without being told to, it signals that you are a person that makes things happen. That's gold. It's golden to an employer. Okay, as long as, again, you stay within your decision-making authority, do not overstep and step on anyone's toes and go beyond the manager and go to their manager. That's not cool. But put together a case to be considered for those decisions that may need approval. And yes, that's a sales job. And so you have to hone some sales skills in order to sell your ideas. Okay? So also show in that interview that you believe there are always solutions to problems and that you're willing to take those steps proactively. That is the kind of conversation that you want to have with your interviewer. Okay. Now, the next one is kind of part and parcel with the other one. These are all probably very much intertwined anyway. But collaboration is next, and it goes deeper than just playing nicely in the sandbox together. It's really what we call teamwork. And real collaboration means you're able to share the credit, you accept your feedback, disagree constructively, etc. Contribute to a shared goal, even when your individual idea didn't make the cut. So you have to leave your ego at the door. And as you can see, the sports team in the photo here, absolutely, they need to collaborate. They need to have really strong teamwork, and a good leader, a coach or a manager or a leader, is going to instill that in all their players. And that's what they do. They can't do it alone. They need their teammates. And that's really what you need to take to the workplace. And that's what you need to show in an interview, that you're willing to work together with others for a common goal. You're not being hired to be a lone star. There aren't many jobs. I mean, there are a few out there that you're working completely alone, but most of them require some kind of teamwork at some point. And so when you're in school and you have to do group projects, a lot of my students have said that they really don't like group projects, but it's good training for your future job, because you don't get to choose who you work with, and you don't get to choose the team members in the workplace. So you have to get some skills there that you can succeed because of how well everyone works together. Hopefully you can provide a situation where that did happen. And maybe maybe they'll ask you, well, have you had a situation where the teamwork didn't happen? And you might have to be prepared to do that too. But also turn it into a positive. What have I learned from that negative experience? And anytime you're talking about a negative experience, always think about how you moved forward. What did you learn from it? And how are you going to do things better the next time? That's what an interviewer wants to hear. Okay? And if you are talking about a project that was very successful, what was your role in that? It doesn't mean that they took your solution or your suggestion, because sometimes they won't. As a team, you won't get your own way, but you will be collaborating with them and you're discussing other options, and you come together in a compromised way and find meet the objective of that group project. And if you can communicate that to your interviewer, it's very, very meaningful. They want to know you can integrate into a team setting. Okay, so let's just go through some of these here. It's basically teamwork. Share the credit where applicable. yes, if they did use your idea, don't boast about it. Don't say, well, they used my idea and everybody thought it was great. Just say, I presented an idea and we discussed it, and we talked about other options, and I was happy that they saw that mine probably would work. So you try to be a little bit humble about it and don't be arrogant, okay? Accept feedback. What if they say, yeah, it's probably a good idea, but I don't really like this part of it, so why don't we change that? Accept that feedback. It should always be positive feedback. So you're going to go into a group setting with some ground rules that everybody's going to be respectful of each other, and accept the feedback from the other group members, and also from your manager. If you as a group propose something and the manager said, gee, I mean, I like some of it, but you'll have to go back and change these things because that won't fit into whatever. Okay, so you have to be prepared to accept that with gratitude. Okay, work together even when your idea is not used. It's not about whether you like the other people. You don't have to like the people you work with, but you have to work with them. So I have done this in my business life, in my work life. Yes, I've had to work with people who didn't like me and I didn't like them. But when you rise above the personal feelings, you are in the workplace and you have a job to do, and you have to make it about the work. Okay? Just make it about the work. And so if you can convince the interviewer that that's how you operate, that you rise above the personal issues, you don't have to want to go for a beer with someone that you're working with after work. You just have to be able to work together to meet the objectives that the company is expecting you to achieve. So when you do disagree, do it respectfully and constructively. You're not going to pounce on someone and saying, you're this and you're that, and I don't like this and whatever. You're going to say, I think you've got some good ideas, but I really disagree with this part of it, and here's why I disagree with it. So I'm curious to know, why are you wanting this particular thing to happen? So you're having a conversation. Each party is finding out why they have their opinions, differing opinions. And a lot of times you can find common ground. You may not agree on everything, but you can find something that, oh, I didn't understand. Oh, I misunderstood where you were coming from. Oh, now that you explain it this way, yeah, I think that might work. Or, gee, I didn't know that maybe you misunderstood me, and this is where I'm coming from. So it's all about going back to communication again. So very, very important. Have the conversation. Okay. Give examples again of succeeding while working together in a collaborative setting. The interviewer just wants to know that you can integrate into a team setting, that when you step into the workplace, that you're going to be a team player. You're going to, have that positive attitude. You're going to want to meet those objectives in an honest and friendly and, professional way. Okay. Okay, so the sixth one is digital literacy. And, I'm probably a little bit old. I know I'm a little bit older than most of you. And you probably are much more advanced in the digital literacy realm than I am, although I am working very, very hard at keeping up with all the changes in the technology. It's not just about knowing how to use Microsoft Word or Excel or some of the other programs out there. We're talking about the ability to learn new tools quickly, navigate data, operate effectively in an increasingly tech-driven workplace. You don't need to be a developer or know how to code unless that's part of your job, of course, but you do need to show that you are not intimidated by new platforms, that you can pick up software, that you can stay curious about how the technology can help you work smarter and be more productive. And, yes, I am talking about AI in many, many aspects. AI is very much integrated into the workplace now, and there are lots of tools that help employees be more productive, save time putting things together, restructuring. I've used AI with some of my videos just to, make sure that I've got the structure right, that if I'm having trouble with a certain, communication that I want to impart, I'll put my script in there and ask them to tweak it for me. And I don't always use it, because you still have to go back and edit everything, because some of the AI platforms are not always accurate, and they don't always describe things in a way that you would want it described. So you're going to go in and change it and make it your own. It's not a copy and paste thing. That's kind of taking the short way out. But they can help you with, maybe sentence structure. Maybe you've got all the ideas there, but they might be able to put it together in a more of a summary type of a sentence or whatever that, says it, but in many less words. And we all like to do that. And so, yeah, AI is great. And AI does so much more, so much more. But I'm just saying, in the regular day-to-day workplace, in an office setting or whatever, you need to embrace these new technologies and new computer systems and new animated and automated ways of processing your work, the way that you sell and to the customers. It's all changing. So you have to be able to learn new tools quickly. Okay, stay curious about it, about all the new things coming. Have a positive attitude about it. And this is all about change management as well. So what you need to do is learn a new technology today. Just find something, anything, even a small thing that you will believe will get the interviewer's attention, and that it's relevant to the job you're going to apply for. And just kind of make sure you're familiar with some of that so that you can inject that into the conversation. You don't have to say, oh, I know about this and this and this, but it's always good to have, that you can kind of add it into, to a commentary that you're having and say, oh, I just took a micro course on this and I find it very fascinating. And when you say those kinds of things, that's all you need to say sometimes. It's that the interviewer's saying, aha, this person's willing to learn new things and stay current. Okay, so you have to prepare all this in advance of the interview. And just about every one of these 6 points, you've got some homework to do before you step into the interview room. Okay, and I can't stress enough that you need to go through the job description that's been posted. You need to go into their company website and other socials and find out what the opinion is of different people. Sometimes you can go into these job sites where employees rate their employer. You have to be careful with that, because people who are unhappy are more inclined to post on those things than ones that are very happy. And so it might show more of a negative result than actually is. So I'd be very, very, very skeptical and very careful about that. But you can go in and, customers' feedback is very important. Go on the socials and find out, how the customers feel about that company. You want to work for a company that has a good reputation, because it means that they're going to be around for a while and that you can invest your time and effort into that company. So do your homework and make sure that you have questions for the interviewer. Okay. And also, don't be afraid to say a negative thing about yourself. When you get that question that says, tell me about a mistake you made and how you handled it. And too many times I've had someone sitting there saying, I really can't think of anything. No, that is trash can material right there, because every single person has made a mistake. Okay. And it's not the mistake. It's what are you doing about it? Do you cover it up? Do you lie about it? Do you blame someone else, playing the blame game? Make sure that you take ownership. And you will be rewarded positively if you come up with something and say, yeah, I really screwed up that time. I don't know why I did that. Oh, wow. I couldn't believe that I did that, or I forgot to do that. And here's what the consequences were, and here's what I did about it. And this is what I learned from it. And this is what I put in place that it never happens again. That's what an interviewer wants to know. Okay? They don't want to hear, oh, I've never made a mistake. Can't think of a mistake. Yes, you can. Everybody can. Every single person can. I certainly can. Okay. So, hold on here. So, see the description for links to the videos that dive deeper into each of these categories. I will be diving much deeper into these. Post your comments with suggestions on topics you'd like me to post soon, because I really want your feedback and what your needs are. Where are your pain points? What you need help with. So please don't forget to like and subscribe and share. New videos will be posted weekly to help you succeed in your career, not just in the interview, but far beyond you getting hired. Okay. All right, so here's your bonus, and it's good old emotional intelligence. And you may have heard of that. I'm sure you have. It's also called EQ. Okay, just a sec here. Okay, now this has become one of the most searched qualities among modern employers. And it's for good reason, really. It's quite all-encompassing. It probably encompasses all the things we've talked about today. But it's even more. You know, your teams are complex. Offices are full of different personalities, backgrounds, communication styles, stress levels. A person who can read the room, manage their own reactions and their emotions under pressure, and build genuine relationships with coworkers is the person that every manager wants on their team. Okay? During your job search, emotional intelligence shows up in how you handle a tough interview question, how you talk about previous employers. Very important. Do not trash your previous employer. And whether you seem self-aware or you're on the defense all the time. They notice these things, okay? Those who play the blame game in an interview should know that their resume will get that trash can treatment, for sure. It means you have a bad attitude if you're defensive. If you talk very negatively about another employee or about an employer. You can talk about problems that you may have had with them, but do it in a more positive way of speaking, okay? So don't go down that trashy road, because that's not going to get you hired at all, okay? That's just going to tell the interviewer that you've got an attitude issue, and they don't want to hire somebody that has a negative attitude. It's just, it infects other people. Somebody who's a chronic complainer, you know, the whiny babies, you know, those ones that are chronically whiny baby. You have to make sure that you show the interviewer that you're not like that. That's not you, okay? That you rise above all that, okay? Yeah. So none of these skills are really fixed, but you have to kind of just try to be a better person. Also, try to work ethically, okay? Have good work ethics. You know, if somebody needs you to stay a little bit later occasionally to finish something, you know, you should be willing to do it. It's all about being part of that team. And you say, nope, I'm done at 5 o'clock and I'm not giving this company another minute. That's a bad attitude. I mean, I understand that's what you're getting paid for. But you also need to show them that you're willing to go a little bit extra mile once in a while. Now, if you're being taken advantage of regularly, that's another story. And you probably have to have a conversation with your manager about that, saying, hey, I've been staying an hour late every day for the last month, and I would really like to be compensated for that. That's not a problem for you to ask for that, but not the occasional time. Just be flexible. You know, when you're flexible with your manager, they will be flexible with you. If you need a little extra time from lunch or this or that, if you've shown that you're giving them a little extra, they will probably give you a little extra, okay? So it works both ways, okay? So the gap between a person who gets hired and the person who keeps getting overlooked is not talent. It's not luck. It's the decision to treat these skills like muscles and actually train them within yourself. Okay? So what is my attitude towards others? This is a summary. Do I take responsibility for my actions, which we've already talked about? How do I talk about my previous employers? Again, we talked about that. Am I empathetic towards others? Do I practice a healthy dose of diversity and acceptance of others who aren't quite like you? How do I react to conflict? Am I reactive or proactive? I do a full video on conflict resolution. I didn't put this in this video. I was really zeroing in on the main ones for an interview, but sometimes you'll be asked about a conflict that you had, so you have to be prepared for that. And how did you handle it? Like conflict with a coworker or something. So you might get that question, and so you might want to have to answer that. But how are you inside? Do you just wait and react and get upset and angry in this? Or are you proactive and you just like take a deep breath and you just say, okay, we've got a problem here. Let's talk it out. And it's usually something that you're going to want to ask them, okay, why do you feel this way? Or why do you have this opinion? And then tell them why you want that. I think I went through that before in a problem solving situation or teamwork. Try to find common ground. Try to resolve it without running to the manager. Okay, so if you're asked that question in an interview, I don't want to hear you say, well, I had a conflict with somebody, so I went to my manager and I told. No, you should try to resolve it yourselves, amongst yourselves. And then if you just can't do it, then you both have to say, okay, I think we better bring the manager in and they're going to have to intervene here. Okay, instead of going behind someone's back, tell them ahead of time, I think we need to go to the manager. And that's exercising more emotional intelligence. And don't raise your voice in anger. Okay, just make it about the situation and try to keep yourself under control at all times. Will you give extra with asked without complaining? Do I treat others with respect? Okay, that's so huge. And I think in an interview, they're going to want to know that you have respect. And, they're may not just ask you, do you respect others? They're not going to ask you that. They're going to ask a roundabout questions that are going to tell them, that are going to reveal whether you respect other people's opinions, other people's workspace, other people's religion and lifestyle and whatever. So make sure that you're doing some self-awareness training here so that you actually are the emotional, intelligent person that they're looking for. What are my ethics? Am I honest? Do I like to steal out of the supply room when nobody's looking? Or am I saying, no, I'm just not doing that. It's wrong, and I'm not doing that. And I mean, there's other ethical things that I could go through. I do teach another video that you can watch for on ethics, because I'm really, really into ethics in the workplace. Okay. So there you go. There's a good summary of the 6+1 essential skills that you can work on. So before closing this video, I want you to choose 2 of your weakest skills that we talked about here and intentionally work on them in the next week. Watch my videos that cover those specific topics separately. They will be coming, if you're watching this as soon as I have uploaded this, then it might be a couple of days, because I'm scheduling them to come in a few day increments. But if you're watching it like a few weeks after I've posted it, they're probably already there in the description. So I want you to take a look and go back and read and watch those videos. Practice them in your life. Having done the work will set you apart from the other candidates. I'm telling you right now, because a lot of the people don't do the work. It will give you a better chance of being hired. Can I guarantee you're going to be hired? No, of course I cannot. There are other factors that go into whether a person hires a person or not. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you what they are, but you have a much better chance if you come in there prepared, confident, friendly. Don't forget to smile. Smile and look relaxed, even if you're nervous as heck. Okay? Practice, talking in a natural, calm, manner and know your stuff, okay? They're critical for success even after you're hired, as you go through your work life, okay? So each of these essential skills either are or will be linked in the description below. So if you do subscribe and like, you will get those as they come up. And I wish you all the best. You take care now.